and roll weekend.
Burgers, better with Pepsi.
Welcome to another edition of Schuck on a Truck, the Zoom edition. Today, we're talking more holiday hoops. And as we head toward the second half of the season, some big time events coming up. And one of those is happening in Highland, Illinois. And we're talking with Quincy native Matt Powers today on the Schuck on a Truck Zoom edition brought to you by Refreshment Services Pepsi. Welcome, Matt.
How you doing, Matt?
I'm wonderful. How are you today?
Good. I'm glad you had me on here, so I appreciate it.
Well, it's a big event for you, for Highland, for basketball in Illinois. It's a huge event now in the 25th year of the Highlands Shootout, correct?
It's actually going to be the 30th year.
30th, okay.
30th year, yeah.
Wow.
So last year would have been the 30th, but obviously COVID, we had to cancel. So this year it's going to be the 30th.
Yeah, let's go back one step before we jump into talking about the Highlands Shootout. You're from Quincy.
From Quincy, grew up there. Graduated from QD in 1997. My mom actually still lives in town. I've got a lot of family in town. Need to make it back there more. Don't make it back enough. But yeah, so obviously great basketball tradition. I played at QD. Scott Douglas's first year, he was the head coach.
How was he in his first year?
Great. Good guy.
Yeah.
Good guy. We probably put him through the ringer, I'm sure, our crew. But we had a good group, some good guys. I'm sure we gave him plenty of trouble, though. We had went through 3 different coaches in 2 years, so we were glad he stepped in.
Well, you're still very much involved in basketball.
Yeah.
As a dad, as a supporter, as many ways as we can think of, right?
Correct. My son plays. He's a junior on Highlands team, and it was a good, I guess, maybe 13, 14 years ago. The local Optimist organization in Highland is very strong. It's one of the strongest ones in the state. And I was a member of it, and they've had this shootout for years. And at the time, whatever it was, 15, 16 years running. And before I stepped in, it was Tyler Hansborough had been here, Darius Miles had been here, Andre Iguodala. So there's some big names. But they needed some help or somebody to kind of step in and take over. And I said I'd help. And the following year, it's, hey, let's run with it. So so that's kind of within the basketball realm in this area. It's it's a hobby of mine, put it that way.
I was gonna say, because you're not a coach, you're not an administrator at the high school level. You have your own
financial
investment
advisor.
business, correct?
Yeah, I'm a financial advisor. Run an investment firm in town. So it's like a secondary. It's almost a release. Sometimes not so much, maybe a little stressful trying to organize this thing, but it's been fun.
Does it feel like a second job?
Yes, yes, it absolutely does. There's a group of us that put this together, and I've always kind of, I guess, at least the past decade, been the front man on it. But the local organization, this Optimist Club that does it, it's like an army of people that are all well-oiled machine, ready and willing to go, and it's made it. This would not happen without all of the help of everybody that's involved in it. So it almost sounds like a one-day basketball event shouldn't be that difficult to do. But when you're bringing teams in from all over and high level, top tier talent, year after year after year, and that bar is set, it's difficult to do.
Does the reputation of the Highland Shootout allow you to reach out to schools and go, look, we got an opening, we'd like you to come, and they respond?
So it does now, to a certain extent, the St. Louis area. So Justin Tatum at CDC, Frank Bennett at Chaminade. I know those guys very, very well personally. That's a text, and it's, hey, are you guys interested? And yep, and then off we go. When you start to get outside this area, it gets difficult because a lot of people know of the shootout, and we're a small town. So it's kind of, Quincy is a basketball town, clearly. And Highland being a small town of 10,000 people outside of St. Louis, it's kind of different that we have this shootout that brings all these teams together. The hard part is when we get outside of the St. Louis area, and maybe not so much Chicago, because I know a lot of those coaches at this point, but you get into the Kansas cities and down into Memphis and Nashville and those areas. I mean, you have to really explain exactly what is going on. And when they see the history, it makes it a lot easier.
Obviously it's coming up January 8th.
Yes.
Are you sold out yet?
No, not yet. We're probably 300 tickets or so sold out. Go there. Usually it's usually it's by the end of this week that we're in that it sells out. I'm guessing it will ahead of time, but we'll see. Who knows? I don't know if COVID plays a part into it, but we'll just see how it works out.
But to have it back, have it be able to look forward to next weekend and have a full slate of teams ready to play, hopefully.
Yeah.
That's got to feel good for you and for the rest of the organizers to know it's back.
It does. So last year canceling that thing, I mean, I was almost in tears. It is an ongoing thing all year to put this together because there's kids that transfer out of schools and you have to replace that team. There are just so many things and moving parts that happen throughout the year. And so we have to stay on top of it. And we had a pretty good shootout scheduled for last year. And then we had to cancel it kind of final hour. So that was heartbreaking, but being able to have this, regardless of what the circumstances are by next Saturday, it's exciting. So I'm excited for it.
We're talking with Matt Powers, organizer of the Highlands Shootout here on Schuck on a Truck Zoom edition, brought to you by Refreshment Services Pepsi. Matt, obviously you've got a full slate set up for next Saturday. What are you looking forward to about next Saturday?
So probably, there's a couple things. There's a kid coming down from Yorkville Christian, which is a small school up near Chicago, and he's committed to Duke. Never seen him play live, but he's known to be one of the best shooters the state has seen in a long time. So he'll be fun to watch. Our final game, CVC out of St. Louis, they've got a 7'2" kid that really has not. He hasn't had a lot of exposure because of last year with COVID, and he's only a sophomore. So they're going to play Kenwood out of Chicago, and Kenwood is completely loaded. I mean, they had a kid transfer out that was their top player and one of the best players in the country, but without him, they still have 4 top 100 players on the team. Wow. So yeah, that'll be a fun one too.
Well, and looking down the list of games, the schedule you have, a lot of Missouri schools, St. Louis area schools, and a lot of Illinois schools. I think there's only one school out of either one of those two states in the event.
There's a Philadelphia school.
Right.
Normally we don't have teams fly in. It's not the norm. What we try to do is stay in a geographic area of driving basically to Chicago, Kansas City, Indianapolis, Memphis, Nashville. But someone had reached out to me about them and I looked into them and I really liked the coach that I talked to and just good rapport. And they've got the number, I think right now he's the number 7 junior in the country, and they've got 2 other top 100 players on the team. They're kind of like they're like a Vashon, St. Louis Vashon, but in Philadelphia. And so they're playing, that's who they're playing too. So it's a really good matchup. So that
obviously this year's lineup is set. Do you already have next year's set, or are you still working on it?
Still working on it. It is a constant work in progress. And the hardest part that we're having right now, I would say any shootout would agree with this, is and with Quincy's got one too, and they've got some similar teams there, but is we get these teams early, we get them under contract to come to the shootout, and then a marquee player transfers out of the school. And so we have to fill that spot if we end up not keeping the school in the shootout. So then filling the spot, you have to find another team that's got a high level player. And what has happened here, when I started doing this, the best explanation is that there were probably, out of the top 50 players in the country, there were maybe 5 of them that played at a prep school, like a Sunrise Christian or a La Lumiere or a, Oak Hill Academy, Mount Vert, whatever it is. Now, out of the top 50, there's probably 5 that don't. So that's a really difficult thing when we're trying to get these schools within our region in here and these kids within our region. But regardless, we're still kind of getting the best of the best in here each year. So
you've had some great moments over the years, some great games.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get the opportunity on that Saturday to sit back and enjoy and then watch the games? Or are you so busy that you got to catch up at the end of the night?
Oh, I've got stories for you, Matt. So I don't know how much time you have, but here's a couple. So one year, Io DeSumo was here with Morgan Park, and they played Chaminade out of St. Louis. And Jericho Helms, who plays now at North Carolina State, was on that team. Mm-hmm. And those two were kind of going at each other a little bit. And then the Io's mom and Jericho's mom were sitting near each other, and they started kind of drawing back and forth. So I didn't realize it. I was actually settled in with my wife and kids sitting and watching the game, and up top, and then I look down and it's kind of a production. So I sprinted down and I had to sit between the two moms for the rest of the game. I sat in the aisle between the two moms. It's a little bit embarrassing, but it is what it is. So that was one good one. This year I would say I'm definitely at the very least in the early games. My son plays. I'm going to sit down and watch that game and try to relax and enjoy it. But yeah, you feel like you're running around all day.
So who's the better player in the family, you or your son?
Oh, definitely him, without a doubt. I'm getting old. It doesn't matter. I can't fight age. So
now, if I go back and ask Scott Douglas what kind of player you were, what will he tell me?
Oh God, I don't even want to answer that. I have no idea what he would say. We were a good group of kids, but it was a lot at one time probably taken on. So I don't know if you remember back in the day, it was Lennox McCoy was on that team.
Oh yeah.
And that was, I think Brian McNeil was maybe a sophomore.
Yeah, because two years later they ended up
I think
they run state.
Yeah, they got state. So yeah,
that's awesome.
No, it's there's plenty of memories, plenty of cool things. I think one that stands out to most people is one year we had Jason Tatum was here with Chaminade when he was a junior, and they played St. Rita out of Chicago. And on the floor, the starting 10 were all Division I players.
Wow.
So it was a pretty cool game, but it came down to Jason had a shot to win it at the buzzer and missed it, and they went into overtime. But it was pretty cool, and I got to know him pretty well through this and his family, and they've been very good to me. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, coming up January 8th, Highlands Shootout, Highland, Illinois, just so people know. Yeah, website is highlandshootout.com, correct?
Yeah, highlandshootout.com. And if anyone wants tickets, it is you can go to the website and it actually will give you a link to go to the shootout. Yeah, I've told it anyone that's coming from any kind of drive, whether it's 2.5 hours or 5 hours, make sure you're getting them online before you come, because we have had years where you've got some Chicago people that come down and there's no tickets left, and the gym gets pretty crowded. So I've not been to Quincy Shootout yet, and I want to get up there and check it out. So
come on up. Any obviously later in January, Quincy Shootout's going on, but anytime you're welcome to come hang out, and we'll make it happen.
Sounds good.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and I hope the shootout goes great.
Okay, appreciate it. Thanks, Matt.
Matt Powers, organizer of the Highlands Shootout, joining us on Schuck on a Truck, the Zoom edition, brought to you by Refreshment Services Pepsi.
We get out, fired up, hook big ones. We get out and rip it, and we track them down. So crack a Mountain Dew, get out and do.
Another rock and roll weekend.
Burgers, better with Pepsi.